Hello everyone! Thank you so much for clicking on this video today.
I'm really glad you're here, and I appreciate you choosing to spend your time improving your English with me. Before we begin, if you enjoy learning English through natural conversations, real-life examples, and advanced practice, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel.
Your support helps us grow and helps learners around the world reach higher levels of English fluency. Today's session is designed for learners who want to move towards C1 and C2 levels of English. These are advanced levels where you don't just understand English, you use it confidently, naturally, and effectively in almost any situation. Whether you're studying for an exam, preparing for work, or simply aiming to sound more fluent, this 2-hour lesson will give you the practice, repetition, and real-world exposure you need. Let's begin with a simple question to set the tone for today's practice. When you think of someone who speaks English at a high level, what comes to mind? Do you imagine someone who speaks quickly, someone who uses impressive vocabulary, or someone who understands every topic easily? In reality, advanced English isn't only about sounding smart. It's about expressing ideas clearly, understanding subtle meanings, and communicating naturally. It's about being able to handle conversations about life, culture, society, emotions, work, and even complex topics with confidence and flow. In this video, we'll explore many of these ideas. We'll talk about communication skills, daily life situations, personal growth, advanced vocabulary, deeper topics, and practical ways to think in English. Each part of the script will help you strengthen your ability to speak naturally and understand English the way native speakers use it. So, as you listen, imagine yourself in these situations. Try to respond in your mind. Repeat sentences out loud and practice as if you were having a real conversation. Let's start with a warm-up topic that many advanced learners enjoy: how daily habits shape our communication skills. Think about your everyday routine. How often do you expose yourself to English? Do you listen to podcasts during breakfast? Do you read a few pages of a book before bed? Do you talk to yourself in English while doing simple tasks like cooking or driving? These small habits may seem unimportant, but they build your fluency faster than you might expect. Researchers in language learning say that consistent exposure matters more than long, difficult study sessions. In fact, many experts suggest that using English for short periods, several times a day, is more effective than trying to study for hours once a week. This is because your brain learns a language through repetition, meaning, and context. The more often you hear natural expressions, the faster your brain turns them into something familiar, something automatic. Let's reflect on that for a moment. When you hear phrases like on a regular basis, from time to time, or as far as I'm concerned, do they feel natural to you, or do you still translate them from your native language? At C1 and C2 levels, your goal is to reduce translation and increase intuition. You want to reach a point where English ideas come to your mind with effort. That's one of the main purposes of today's practice, to help you think in English through long, meaningful listening. Now, let's dive into our first advanced topic: how modern life affects the way we communicate. This is something that people across the world can relate to. Whether you live in the United States, India, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, or Southeast Asia, communication has changed dramatically in the past decade. Many conversations now happen through text messages, video calls, or voice notes. People share their thoughts instantly, often without thinking deeply. At the same time, real face-to-face conversations sometimes become less frequent. This shift affects language in interesting ways. Because we communicate so quickly, many people use shorter sentences, simpler expressions, or emojis to express emotions. But when it comes to advanced English, you need to go beyond short messages. You need to express opinions, explain your reasoning, agree and disagree politely, and talk about complex issues using clear structure and precise vocabulary.
Let's practice this idea with a few questions. As you listen, try to answer in your mind or speak out loud. How has technology changed the way you communicate with people? Do you feel communication today is better or worse than it was in the past? Do you think social media helps us stay connected, or does it make conversations more shallow?
These questions require more than simple yes or no answers. They push you to explain, expand, and justify your ideas. That's exactly the kind of thinking you need at the C1 and C2 levels. For example, instead of saying technology is helpful, an advanced learner might say, technology has definitely changed the way I communicate. On one hand, it allows me to stay in touch with people easily. On the other hand, I sometimes feel conversations have become less personal. Notice the structure on one hand and on the other hand. These transitions help you sound organized and fluent. As we continue through the video, you'll hear many expressions like this. Try to repeat them when possible. Let's shift to another related topic, the importance of active listening at advanced levels. Speaking is only half of communication. The other half is the ability to listen carefully, understand details, and respond appropriately. Have you ever noticed how some people listen only to reply, not to understand? They wait for their turn to speak, but they don't fully process what the other person is saying. Active listening means paying attention not just to the words, but also to the tone, the intention, and the emotion behind the message. When learning English, this skill helps you understand fast speech, advanced phrases, idioms, and subtle meanings. It also helps you respond more naturally. For example, if someone says, "I've been overwhelmed lately," an advanced learner doesn't respond with a simple, "Okay." Instead, they might say, "I'm sorry to hear that. Is it because of work?" This shows understanding, empathy, and fluency. In this video, you'll hear many real-life expressions like, "I've been meaning to," "I can relate to that," "That caught me off guard," and "I wouldn't go that far, but I see your point." These are expressions used by fluent speakers every day, and they help you sound more natural and confident. As we move forward, remember that the goal isn't to memorize everything. The goal is to let English flow through your mind, to let it become familiar, comfortable, and natural. The more you expose yourself to real English, the faster you'll achieve C1 and C2 levels. As we continue this advanced English practice, let's move into a topic that is extremely important for C1 and C2 learners: expressing complex ideas clearly and naturally. At advanced levels, it's not just about understanding difficult vocabulary. It's about using language to communicate thoughts that are subtle, layered, and meaningful. Think about this for a moment. In your native language, when you're discussing a deep topic, maybe something about society, relationships, personal growth, or global issues, you probably use nuanced expressions without even realizing it. You might say things like, "It's not that simple," "It depends on the context," or "There's more to it than that." In English, advanced speakers use similar phrasings. For example, "It's a bit more complicated than it seems. There are several factors to consider. I understand where you're coming from, but I see it differently. That's a valid point, although I'd argue." These kinds of expressions show maturity, clarity, and depth. They help you participate in meaningful conversations rather than superficial ones. Now, let's explore a real-world topic that many people around the world can relate to: how expectations shape our daily lives. Expectations from family, society, work, or even from ourselves can influence how we think and behave. This topic is very common in advanced English discussions because it touches emotions, psychology, and life experience. Let's reflect on a few questions.
Answers in your mind or out loud will help you train your fluency. What expectations do you feel from the people around you? Do you think these expectations help you grow, or do they add pressure? How do expectations affect your confidence or your decisions?
These questions require more than simple vocabulary. They require explanation, examples, and reflections, something C1 and C2 learners must practice often. For example, an advanced speaker might say, "I believe expectations can be both motivating and stressful. On one hand, they push us to reach our potential. On the other hand, they can create pressure that affects our mental well-being." This kind of structure mirrors the way native speakers express complex opinions. Notice how the sentence uses balance, comparison, and nuance. These elements help you move from intermediate English to advanced English. Now, let's explore natural conversation flow, something that many advanced learners want to master. A common struggle is feeling like your speech is too formal or too stiff. At high levels, you want to sound natural, not robotic or overly academic. One way to do this is by using small conversational tools that native speakers use without thinking. Expressions like, "Actually, now that you mention it, that reminds me of something. To be honest, I've never thought about it that way. If I had to guess, I'd say, what surprised me was..." These phrases make your speech smoother and more dynamic. They help you sound more like you're thinking in English rather than translating. Throughout this video, you'll hear many expressions like these, so your brain becomes familiar with them. Let's shift to another topic that advanced English speakers often discuss: personal growth and long-term goals. Whether someone comes from South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, or the Middle East, almost everyone wants to improve their life in some way: career, relationships, health, or personal development. Here are some questions that push you to think in English. What long-term goals are most important to you right now? Do you believe people can truly change, or do you think personality stays the same? What's one area of your life you want to improve this year? Advanced English isn't just about vocabulary. It's about expressing emotions, motivation, and introspection. Let's take one example. I've been trying to become more disciplined with my time. It's not easy, but I'm slowly improving. I've realized that small, consistent habits make a big difference in the long run. This is natural, detailed, and emotionally honest. It sounds like a real human expressing a real struggle. Exactly the kind of fluency you want. Let's move to another essential advanced skill: handling disagreements politely. In many countries, people avoid arguments. In others, debates are normal. But in English, it's important to disagree without sounding rude or aggressive. Here are some polite yet advanced ways to express disagreement. "I see your point, but I'm not completely convinced. That's an interesting perspective, though I'd interpret it differently. I respect your opinion, but I have a slightly different take. I understand what you mean, although I don't fully agree." These expressions show confidence, respect, and clarity, key characteristics of C1 and C2 communication. Now, let's move into an interesting and highly relatable topic: how routines shape our confidence. Many people underestimate how daily routines influence their ability to speak a language. The truth is, confidence doesn't come from perfection. It comes from consistency. The more you expose yourself to English daily, the more natural and effortless your speech becomes. Let's think about your routine. Do you practice English intentionally or only when you have free time? Do you listen to English during tasks like exercising, cooking, or commuting? The more English you absorb passively, the easier active speaking becomes. Here's a useful advanced sentence pattern: the more I practice, the more confident I feel. The more I listen, the more natural everything sounds. The more I challenge myself, the more progress I notice. This the more structure is very common in natural English, and mastering it helps you sound more fluent instantly. Now, let's explore a meaningful topic that touches almost everyone. Finding balance in life with work, family, school, relationships, and personal goals, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Advanced conversations often involve discussing balance, priorities, and decision-making. Try to answer this question in your mind. Do you feel your life is balanced, or do you feel pulled in many directions? A natural advanced answer might sound like this. Lately, I've been trying to find a better balance. I realized I was focusing too much on work and not enough on my well-being. So now I'm learning to slow down and take things one step at a time. Expressions like take things one step at a time, slow down, and find balance are extremely common in daily English. As we continue, we'll explore even deeper topics, more advanced structures, and more natural expressions to help you reach C1 and C2 levels. As we move forward in this advanced English practice, let's explore a topic that almost every learner finds relatable: how our environment influences the way we speak, think, and react. Whether you live in a quiet town, a busy city, or somewhere in between, the world around you shapes your communication style in interesting ways. For example, if you live in a fast-paced environment, you might naturally speak more quickly or more directly. If your culture values politeness or indirect communication, you might express opinions more gently or cautiously. Understanding these patterns helps you become aware of how you use English and how you can adjust your style depending on the situation. Let's start with a few reflective questions. Do you think your environment affects the way you communicate in English? Do you feel more confident speaking English at home, at school, at work, or with friends? How does the atmosphere around you influence your level of fluency? These questions push you to think deeper, which is essential at the C1 and C2 levels. Advanced English is not only about grammar, it's about self-awareness and communication strategy. Now, let's talk about something that many advanced learners underestimate: the power of storytelling. At high levels, one of the best ways to show fluency is by telling stories smoothly. Stories about your day, your past experiences, your challenges, or even your dreams for the future. When you tell a story well in English, you show control of tenses, transitions, emotions, and descriptive vocabulary. Here are some natural storytelling expressions. Let me tell you about something interesting that happened recently. I'll never forget the moment when. Looking back, I realized that. At first, I didn't understand what was happening, but then, eventually, I figured things out. These phrases create a natural flow, helping listeners follow your thoughts clearly. Let's practice this idea with a simple reflection. Think about a moment from your life, maybe something surprising, funny, stressful, or meaningful. Now try to describe it using English in your mind. Use transitions like at first, after a while, in the end. What surprised me was, the strange thing is, this helps you build confidence and practice real-life storytelling, which is a powerful component of advanced fluency. Now, let's dive into another essential skill for C1 and C2 learners: using precise vocabulary. At advanced levels, you don't need complicated words. You need accurate ones. For example, instead of very important, advanced speakers might say crucial, essential, or significant. Instead of very big, they might say massive, enormous, or substantial. Instead of very small, they might say tiny, minimal, or limited. Instead of I don't like it, they might say it doesn't appeal to me, I'm not a big fan of it, or it's not really my thing. These choices help your speech become richer, clearer, and more expressive. let's explore an advanced topic that appears often in real conversations. Dealing with uncertainty. In life, we constantly make decisions without knowing exactly what will happen. Being able to express uncertainty in English is a sign of advanced fluency. Expressions like, "I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's hard to say for certain, although my best guess is that, as far as I can tell, it seems likely that," these expressions soften your speech, making it sound natural and thoughtful. Now, let's reflect on this idea more deeply. Life is full of uncertainty about the future, about work, about relationships, about opportunities. Expressing uncertainty in English shows emotional intelligence and nuance. Try answering these questions in your mind. What's something you've been unsure about lately? How do you deal with uncertainty in your life? Do you usually trust your instincts, or do you rely on facts and logic? At advanced levels, these reflections help you speak more naturally and thoughtfully. Now, let's shift to another important aspect of advanced English: showing empathy through language. Empathy is a human skill that no machine or translation app can replicate. When you express empathy, you show understanding, care, and emotional intelligence, qualities highly valued in C1 and C2 communication. Here are natural expressions of empathy. "I can imagine how that must feel. That sounds really challenging." "I'm sorry you had to go through that. I can relate to what you're saying. I've experienced something similar, so I understand." Using these phrases makes your English warmer, more human, and more connected. Now, let's explore a global topic that people everywhere can relate to: the fast pace of modern life. Many people today feel busier than ever. Whether you're a student, an employee, a parent, or someone building your own business, life can feel overwhelming. But this is also an opportunity to practice advanced vocabulary and expressions. For example, you can say, "I've been juggling multiple responsibilities lately. I feel like I'm constantly racing against time. I've been trying to slow down and reset my priorities. Life has been hectic, but I'm managing." These are expressions you'll hear in workplaces, universities, and daily life. Let's go deeper. One of the most important parts of advanced communication is being able to reflect on your experiences. Reflection helps you articulate thoughts clearly, which is essential at higher levels. Try answering these questions internally. What's one lesson you've learned recently? Is there something you wish you had handled differently? How have you grown over the past year? These reflective questions help your brain build stronger English connections. Now, let's explore a highly practical skill: making your speech more structured. Native speakers often organize their thoughts naturally, using patterns like "first of all," "secondly," "on top of that," "in contrast," to sum up. Using these structures helps your English sound organized and polished, especially in academic or professional contexts. Before we move to part 4, let's end this section with a key reminder. Advanced English is not about perfection. It's about clarity, confidence, and connection. It's about expressing who you are, what you think, and how you see the world. As we continue on this journey toward advanced English fluency, let's shift into a topic that challenges many learners around the world: developing confidence when expressing your true thoughts and opinions in English. At C1 and C2 levels, fluency isn't just about vocabulary. It's about feeling comfortable sharing your ideas the same way you would in your native language. Think about this. Have you ever had a moment when you understood everything in English but didn't know how to express your opinions smoothly? Maybe the words felt stuck, or you weren't sure how to phrase your thoughts in a natural way. This barrier is common, especially for learners who are transitioning into advanced speaking. To help with this, let's explore some natural expressions that advanced speakers use when giving opinions. If you ask me, from my perspective, as far as I'm concerned. To be completely honest, I'm of the opinion that These phrases help you start your sentences confidently and give your speech structure and flow. They also signal that what follows is thoughtful and intentional. Let's practice with a few real-world questions. Think about them and try to answer in English. What's something you strongly believe in?
What's a habit you think everyone should develop? What's one thing people often misunderstand about you? Training yourself to express these deeper ideas naturally is one of the keys to reaching C1 and C2. Now, let's shift to a topic that advanced learners often find fascinating: the psychology of communication. At a high level, language is not just information. It's emotion, identity, culture, and connection. Every time you communicate in English, you're not just forming sentences. You're building relationships, expressing personality, and shaping how others perceive you. For example, the way you say something can change the entire meaning. Compare these two responses. Yes, I guess, versus I think that would work really well. The first sounds unsure. The second sounds confident and engaged. At advanced levels, tone matters as much as vocabulary. You want to sound like someone who participates in the conversation, not someone who simply reacts to it. To improve your communication psychology, practice using assertive yet polite phrases. I'd prefer if we could. One thing I'd like to add is, I completely agree with that point. I'm not entirely sure about that, but here's how I see it. These expressions elevate your English to a more mature and professional level. Let's move to another important topic: expressing complex emotions. At advanced levels, you need more than happy, sad, angry, or tired. You want to capture subtle feelings like, I'm a bit overwhelmed. I feel conflicted about that. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm feeling a little out of my depth. I'm genuinely impressed. These expressions help you communicate more precisely and naturally, especially in emotional or personal conversations. Now, let's explore a topic that affects almost everyone: time management and productivity in modern life. With screens, notifications, deadlines, and responsibilities pulling us in every direction, many people struggle to balance everything. Here are some advanced expressions related to this topic. I've been trying to prioritize my tasks more effectively. I tend to procrastinate when I feel stressed. I'm learning to set healthier boundaries with my time. I've realized I need to manage my energy, not just my schedule. These are phrases you'll hear in workplace conversations, coaching sessions, and academic discussions. Let's pause for a moment and reflect. How do you currently manage your time? Do you feel productive, or do you often feel rushed? What's one habit you want to improve to use your time better? Thinking about meaningful questions like these helps you build deeper, more expressive English. Now, let's explore a topic that people worldwide experience: building and maintaining meaningful relationships. Whether friendships, family connections, or professional relationships, communication is the foundation of connection. Advanced English helps you maintain healthy, respectful, and supportive relationships in many environments. Here are natural phrases to strengthen relationship-based communication. I really appreciate the effort you put in. I value your honesty. I understand what you're going through. I'm grateful for your support. Let me know how I can help. These expressions show emotional maturity and warmth, key components of advanced communication. Let's go deeper. Many psychologists say that strong relationships rely on understanding, patience, and the ability to express emotions clearly. When you communicate well, you avoid misunderstandings, resolve conflicts faster, and create more trust with the people around you. Try answering these reflective questions. What qualities do you value most in a friend? How do you try to maintain strong connections with the people you care about? What's one thing you wish people understood better about your communication style? Questions like these help you explore your inner thoughts in English, training your fluency at a deeper level. I'm proud of the work you've done today, and I'm excited for everything you will achieve.
Thank you for spending your time with me here. If this practice helped you, feel free to like the video and subscribe for more. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.